Over the warm waters of the Western Pacific, the Philippines unfolds like a vast archipelago that breaks the horizon. There are thousands of islands covered in dense jungles and jagged coastlines where humidity soaks everything and the heat gives no respite. In these lands, the mountains are lost among low clouds and the jungles breathe with the weight of unaltered centuries. Isolated from the rest of the continent for millions of years, these islands have never encountered the large predators of other latitudes. There are no lions, tigers, or wolves here. Instead, survival was left to creatures who perfected the art of stalking. In this corner of the world, the hunter reigns from the shadows, patience, and silent waiting. In such a diverse ecosystem, the real challenge isn't the presence of large predators, but the details lurking in every shadow: a cracked trunk where a snake is hiding, dry leaves that betray a furtive footprint, or a miscalculated leap between the highest branches. In the Philippines, survival is not based on speed or strength, but on the ability to adapt to an ever-changing environment. Civets glide through the shadows, reticulated pythons capable of taking down prey larger than themselves, Philippine crocodiles still lurking in remote rivers, and lizards that dive into the water to escape. Birds of impossibly vibrant colors break the monotony of the foliage, while toads crowned with tiny horns and poisonous snakes turn the damp ground into treacherous terrain. And high above, the Philippine eagle, one of the most powerful raptors on the planet, keeps watch with a motionless gaze. Every creature here has honed its instincts to survive in an unpredictable environment, where threat can be hidden in the apparent calm of a leaf or the shimmer of an unnamed pool. And as if that weren't enough, the rains arrive without warning. The humidity turns every surface into a trap, and the competition for food and territory offers no respite. In this archipelago, there is no respite for those who trust themselves. Welcome to the Philippines, a treacherous paradise where the dazzling and the lurking beat in unison. In this ecosystem where vigilance and stealth are key, some creatures become almost invisible, slipping into the darkness without a trace. Among them, a hunter who hides beyond what the eyes can see. It doesn't belong to the ranks of Africa's big cats, nor does it share the open plains where the sun casts distant silhouettes. This predator lives high above, among intertwined branches and waterlogged roots, far from human sight. The Philippine clouded leopard is an animal that shies away from the show, but its body tells a different story. Its fur, covered in irregular markings that don't resemble rosettes or stripes, but rather diffuse shapes reminiscent of fog banks above the foliage, makes it a living fragment of the forest. Each of these markings seems designed to dissolve into the darkness, and so it does. Its anatomy reveals a life dedicated to stalking. It has the most unusual proportions among arboreal cats. Short, powerful legs, exceptionally curved claws, and a tail as long as its own body, which acts as a counterweight in impossible maneuvers. It can hang upside down from a branch and descend from a trunk like a primate, an ability almost unique among predators of its size. But its most unique feature is its mouth. No modern feline has upper fangs as long in proportion to its skull. These pieces are reminiscent of ancient saber-toothed cats, capable of piercing a monkey's vertebrae with a single bite or piercing a deer's neck. A solitary and twilight hunter, his routine lacks fixed paths. He climbs, observes, waits. Its food is varied: arboreal mammals, birds, reptiles, and when the opportunity arises, prey that exceeds its size. It is one of the few felines capable of killing a larger animal without the need for a chase. Among the thick branches bordering a swamp, an adult bird has remained motionless for hours. The air remains dense, still, as if everything around it were holding its breath. Below, on the murky surface, a young crocodile approaches the shore. Each movement creates a slow wake among the floating leaves. The feline waits, there's no rush. In this environment, survival belongs to whoever masters the timing. When it happens, there's no outpouring of violence, no noise, just a precise decision. The crocodile barely manages to shake it off. The prey gives way and the thicket claims it. No feast, no noise, a silent death, a scene that the forest repeats far from any sight. Here, brutality isn't announced, it's executed. Meanwhile, in the mountains of Mindoro, the first glimmer of day begins to filter through the fog. Dawn falls on the misty slopes, and in the clearings that barely appear among the dense vegetation, a creature moves with an ancient caution. It is a tamaraw, one of the last that still persists in the wild. Unlike other bovids, this animal does not seek the protection of the herd. Its life is lived in complete solitude, and its reason is not capricious. In a changing archipelago where the terrain and human threats have fragmented natural corridors, those who learned to move unaccompanied and avoid familiar paths were the ones who managed to survive. Its body, more compact than that of its continental relatives, allows it to move through steep areas where no other dares to cross. Avoid open grasslands, instead seeking out hidden corners, wet ravines and deep mudflats that confuse predators. Although this may appear to be a disadvantage, it is actually a very effective resource. In nature, easy paths are often fraught with danger. The tamaraw's discreet marginal presence is a reminder that the only chance for survival may lie on the roughest edges. After moving stealthily through the thick undergrowth, the tamaraw stops in front of a clearing where fresh, hardy grasses sprout. His powerful jaw begins to tear the wet leaves, while his eyes remain alert to any movement. Feeding is a measured act because every step outside the safety of shelter can be fatal. However, it is there, in those remote corners, where they find the resources that allow them to survive. And yet this strategy does not guarantee survival. Due to changes in its habitat, fewer than 200 specimens of this unique bovid remain. Every day that passes is another act in their constant struggle to avoid extinction, a ceaseless effort to continue existing in the face of an increasingly uncertain fate. It doesn't seek companionship or refuge in the pack. Its solitude is a strategy, not an imposed isolation. The tamaraw's existence is a delicate balance between constant risk and the imperative to keep going day after day. While in the heights of Mindoro, prudence guarantees survival, in the lowland jungles of the Philippines, the principle is no different. Life finds its way through the hidden, and those who master this environment don't need speed or numbers, but rather patience and absolute mastery of the terrain. The heat in the lowland jungle of the Philippines does not decrease with the fall of the evening. The humidity lingers, suspended in the air, muffling every sound, every movement. In this environment, saturated with life and decay, there are creatures that don't need light to reign. Among the flooded roots and dark ravines, a reticulated python patrols its territory. Its scales, with an irregular and changing pattern, reflect the nuances of the environment. Ochres, greens, moving shadows. He moves without urgency, certain that the jungle belongs to him. This predator doesn't rely on speed. It has inherited from millennia of adaptation the ability to measure ground vibrations and the scent of the wind. Unlike swift-striding hunters, the python is a master of the long stalk, the narrow space, and the plant trap. And it is in those discreet margins where he waits. A macaque, confident in the safety of the undergrowth, descends into a pool. It stops. It sniffs the thick air. It senses no threat. A few meters away, a motionless snake seems part of the puddled ground, a dark root among the mud and wet leaves. For minutes, nothing happens, until the python, in a single impulse, tenses its body. The ambush is immediate, brutal, and silent. In the Philippines, this same lethal patience has turned the species into an unexpected threat to nearby communities. In plantations, chicken coops, and marginal villages, large specimens lurk in the darkness, leaving victims in their wake whose fate is only revealed when the jungle has already fulfilled its lifespan. Few predators remain so faithful to their ancestral nature. Here, where the jungle dictates the rules, the reticulated python is an unavoidable force. Silent and patient, capable of waiting hours, days, or even weeks for a single moment. A moment in which life and death are in brutal balance. Thus, the python's dominance is sustained in the shadows, showing that in the Philippines, nature never gives up, always finding ways to adapt and persist. This fragmented archipelago in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, with more than 7,000 islands spread over 1 million square kilometers of land and sea, is the setting where these invisible forces shape jungles, mangroves, and mountains, creating a refuge for unique fauna, the result of millennia of geographic isolation. In this area, temperatures remain almost constant, with humidity that embraces the environment, ranging between a warm 27 and 30 degrees during the day and a slight coolness at night. The dense jungle is a complex system where every tree, vine, and soil is alive, connected in a fragile balance. However, one thing stands out when observing this vast biodiversity. There are no big cats, no wolves, not even large terrestrial predators that dominate the food chain in other ecosystems. The absence of these hunters is a direct consequence of the geological formation and evolutionary history of the archipelago. For millions of years, the islands of the Philippines were isolated by the sea, a natural barrier that prevented the arrival of large species capable of dominating the forests. While on other continents, felines and canids evolved as top predators, here the ecosystem took a different direction. Without large land-based hunters, the pressure on species was different, and this is reflected in the adaptations observed. Philippine animals learned to survive without the constant fear of a larger predator. Many became bolder and more active above ground. Others developed distinct defense methods, from impeccable camouflage to nocturnal habits, to avoid competitors. The dominant presence of large birds of prey, such as the Philippine eagle, reconfigured the trophic pyramid. These raptors, which hunt in the canopy and on the ground, occupy the niche of top predators with a ferocity and specialization that no other raptor achieves in closed tropical forests. In this jungle, the threat comes from the sky, not the earth. This lack of large terrestrial carnivores allows species like the tamaroa to thrive with less direct pressure. It has also benefited primates such as macaques and galagos, which move confidently among the branches, relying on the thicket and aerial surveillance to avoid being surprised. Evolution here reveals itself as a delicate balance deeply linked to geography. The maritime isolation, the constant climate, and the fragmented structure of the archipelago forged an ecosystem where size and ferocity are not the only factors of survival. Adaptation, specialization, and symbiosis dominate the scene. Thus, the Philippine archipelago offers a setting where life not only survives but reinvents itself, challenging the common patterns of other continents, reminding us that in nature the rules may be different but the balance persists. The lowland rainforests of Mindanao breathe constant humidity. At ground level, the air is thick and warm, brushing the edges of the trees with a faint mist that seems to float aimlessly. The light filters through the canopy with difficulty, casting scattered glimmers that tremble among the leaves. High above, where the branches break into twisting labyrinths, a figure waits motionless. The bird remains perched on a bare branch, more than 30 meters above the ground. Its robust silhouette, almost disproportionate for an aerial hunter, breaks the contours of the foliage like an ancient shadow. It is the Philippine eagle, a predator from another time, isolated on an archipelago that denied it competitors of its stature. His deep, steely eyes do not explore the horizon, but rather the interior of the forest. Observe from above the imperceptible movements of long-tailed macaques searching for fruit near a stream. The breeze lifts its plume of feathers, a rough crown that does not adorn. It acts as a natural visor, filtering the oblique light that pierces the treetops and allowing it to distinguish shapes among the green movement. The bird doesn't descend at a rapid speed. In its world, patience is more valuable than momentum. It adjusts, calculating distances and possible escape routes. No land predator could reach these heights, but the jungle doesn't forgive mistakes. And this bird of prey has been perfecting its method for generations. Its strength lies in its absolute control of its environment. Its talons are more powerful in proportion to its body size than those of any other living bird. It can fracture bones on first contact. It knows the blow must be precise. The dense jungle doesn't allow second chances, and the thick foliage can absorb wounded prey in seconds. When it finally launches, there's no squawk, no flutter of wings. It's a controlled descent, like a fragment of shadow peeling from the canopy and falling. In an instant, the jungle stops sounding. The monkeys sense the threat, but it's too late. A young female, distracted by the water, feels a sudden impact that breaks her collarbone before her cry can penetrate the branches. The Philippine eagle doesn't stay on the ground. With a brief effort, it soars back up, carrying its prey. The weight doesn't intimidate her at all. In the jungles of Mindoro and Mindanao, this bird has taken down small deer and wild boar calves. Very few raptors anywhere in the world have perfected hunting in close quarters like this one. It's a shadow hunter, adapted to move silently among damp-barked trees and dangling vines. Her daily routine doesn't depend on abundance. It's based on vigilance. She can spend hours still in a single tree, studying roots, measuring patterns. When night falls, it returns to its nest built in the highest forks, where a single chick occupies the center of its attention for weeks. Only she and her partner occupy that territory. No one else can survive within those limits. Unlike other tropical raptors, this eagle rarely leaves the canopy. The open sky is not its preserve. Their world is the upper strata of the humid jungle, where their facial plumage acts as an optical shield, protecting their eyes from fleeting flashes, allowing them to see what remains hidden to others. Despite its mastery, its greatest threat never flew. Axes and fires slowly devour the forest that sustains it. Therefore, although its skill surpasses that of any other island hunter, the Philippine eagle faces a diminishing territory. An absolute predator in a land that denies it more and more space every day. Night envelops the slopes of Mount Makiling near Laguna with a humid silence that is only broken by the rustling of the leaves. Beneath this thick canopy, a figure glides with an almost feline gait. It's the Philippine palm civet, a nocturnal predator that defies all expectations on island soil. His robust body, covered in rough fur and marked by a white facial mask over a dark face, breaks through the shadows and moss with quiet elegance. Their large, bright eyes, adapted to the darkness, reflect an ancestral intelligence that few birds of prey or mammals of their size can match. The civet can lie on the ground or stealthily climb up to 10 meters between branches thanks to its sharp claws that give it a unique flexibility of movement. It moves with a dual purpose, hunting and dispersing seeds through its droppings, a vital function for plant regeneration. Abundant in primary and secondary forests, it also ventures into mango orchards, suburban gardens near Manila, and within the boundaries of rural communities. Their diet is diverse. Juicy fruits such as guava, durian, or wild coffee, along with insects, frogs, small rodents, birds, and eggs. However, it plays a crucial role when you consume coffee cherries. When digested, part of their contents ferment inside them, and days later the seeds are expelled along with their excrement, ready to germinate in the soil. This almost unnoticed transit helps maintain the plant balance in the thickets it passes through. Solitary and territorial, its activity increases during dark nights. It only avoids moving around during full moons, when it knows aerial predators are patrolling overhead. Tonight, the forest breathes moisture. Soaked leaves cover the ground and the air remains still and thick. In the shadows, a civet advances cautiously. Its movements are measured, almost imperceptible. He stops beside a fallen tree trunk and raises his head. His gaze glides between the branches, alert to the slightest tremor. A tiny gecko barely moves on a piece of bark. The civet remains motionless. Wait. Nothing about her seems rushed. Then he takes a step. His paws brush against the dry leaves, which give way with a muffled whisper. A snap of moss breaking away signals his advance. The distance shortens, but there's no hurry. The civet knows that in slowness lies certainty. With a contained leap, he slides to the base of the trunk. His whiskers vibrate, his eyes fix. And only then, in a split second, does he catch the reptile in his mouth. No fury, no shock, just efficiency. For a moment, she remains still, as if confirming that nothing else has changed around her. Then it slowly ascends the trunk, stops halfway up, and turns its head. The facial mask stands out clearly in the dim light. The dark, deep-set eyes scan the surroundings with the calm of someone who knows every corner. He belongs here, and every step he takes responds to the exact rhythm of the jungle. In the Philippine wilderness, each creature occupies its own territory and schedule. When one retreats, another takes its place. And in the darkest hours of the night, among damp roots and hollow trunks, one of the archipelago's oldest and most discreet inhabitants comes to life. The Philippine pangolin, one of the most unique animals in this archipelago, moves slowly on all fours. Its silhouette covered in hardened scales resembles a succession of ancient plates designed to resist teeth and claws. But what immediately catches the eye is its conical face crowned by an elongated, moist and sensitive snout. It's not just a nose, it's their survival tool. This specialized organ, fine-tuned by generations of adaptation, allows it to detect ant and termite colonies even several meters away, hidden under rotten trunks or among roots. Each inhalation carries tiny particles that, upon reaching your olfactory system, activate direct connections with your brain. This rapid interpretation of odors allows you to react accurately to the slightest concentration of pheromones or the humidity of a newly opened anthill. It's not just about tracking food. Their noses also pick up chemical signals from other individuals, predators, or changes in the environment. In an ecosystem where the senses must anticipate sight, their sense of smell makes the difference between finding sustenance or walking into a trap. But this anatomy has its limits. Lacking dexterous hands or limbs capable of delicate cleaning, the pangolin must resort to other methods. When its snout becomes filled with dirt, secretions, or sticky debris, it shakes it vigorously or rubs it against damp logs, loosening the accumulated dirt. It uses its tongue, a sticky, flexible structure more than 20 centimeters long, capable of collecting insects and removing impurities that could hinder its sense of smell. This behavior, although discreet, is crucial to their routine. Any obstruction can mean the loss of a feeding opportunity or the inability to warn in time of the presence of a predator. As the night progresses, the Palawan pangolin maintains its leisurely pace. Each area of the forest emits a distinct scent, and its snout examines, distinguishes, and classifies these invisible messages. In a world without big cats or wolves, where threats come from poachers and reptiles, this mammal has perfected its ability to move unseen and unheard. The wilderness of Palawan is their refuge and their sense of smell, their most precise weapon. Here, in the green immensity of the Philippines, balance depends on creatures who, like him, have learned to read the forest through air, smell, and silence. As the humid heat of Palawan begins to subside with nightfall, another figure prepares to roam its territory. From the treetops, a heavy, untidy silhouette glides between the branches like a shadow that understands every crevice in the canopy. Its slow gait and the thickness of its fur evoke ancient forms, as if emerging from a forest frozen in time. This is the binturong, a discreet inhabitant of the thicket that rarely descends to the ground, and whose presence, although elusive, is vital to this ecosystem. Its robust body, covered in coarse, dark fur, blends into the shadows of the jungle. It doesn't rely on strength or speed to survive, but rather on a deep knowledge of the territory, an instinct that reads every whisper of the wind and every subtle change in the environment. This ability to adapt and anticipate what's coming is what has allowed it to survive in a forest where many others have disappeared millennia ago. The binturong has made the night its ally. While others sleep or take shelter, it travels the invisible paths of the treetops, using its prehensile tail as an anchor that allows it to hang and reach fruit hanging in the darkness. Their diet is broad and opportunistic: ripe fruit, small vertebrates, abandoned eggs. Anything can be eaten if the opportunity arises. But his true tool lies in his sense of smell. He has a wide, moist nose, capable of tracking scents in the thick, warm air. Its wide, ever-open nostrils allow it to pick up the tiniest particles, those that announce the presence of ripe fruit hundreds of meters away, or of unwary prey at the foot of a tree. This nasal structure also facilitates the entry of more air during running or rapid climbing, a vital advantage when the jungle demands immediate reaction. However, it lacks the mechanisms to easily clear its airways. When ambient humidity saturates its nasal passages, it vigorously shakes its head, expelling excess moisture and accumulated particles. A crude but effective maneuver, an essential part of its instinctive behavior. Every night he faces invisible challenges. Deforestation has fragmented his habitat, and new clearings force him to descend further than he would like. Traps await him there, and sometimes the hostile gaze of humans. But the binturong has learned to move carefully. It travels high, avoids old trees marked by hunters, and marks its territory with a thick secretion that warns off intruders. On those heavy nights, When the silence weighs heavily and the air is heavy with familiar fragrances, its sense of smell becomes more acute. That's when he detects a distinct aroma. It's not fruit nor carrion. It's a nest hidden among the branches, with eggs beating beneath the warmth of an absent mother. It approaches carefully, testing the firmness of each branch. Upon reaching it, it leans its body over the canopy and buries its snout among the leaves. The moment is brief and discreet. After securing the loot, he descends a few meters and disappears, enveloped once again in darkness. This is how he survives, not through showmanship but through skill. It is the best adapted because it does not impose itself. It dissolves into its environment. On an island without big cats or wolf packs, cunning and stealth are the order of the day, and few have played this game with such mastery as he has. But not all animals in the Philippines look strange, with dull colors. Others are beautiful, unlike anything seen on other continents. And in this land of dense jungles, tangled mangroves, and endless rains, beauty takes forms that logic cannot expect. On the banks of slow-flowing rivers, where tree roots sink into the murky water and branches form green roofs, a reptile slithers among the shadows. The Philippine water dragon sports mottled skin in shades of jade green, petrol blue, and emerald flecks that blend with the undergrowth. When the light filters through scattered columns, its body appears to ignite for a moment. It's not a random color. In the depths of the tropical forest, where everything blends in darkness and humidity, these hues function like a secret language. Among their species, the brightest males are also the strongest, and that chromatic intensity becomes a warning of health, of vigor, of dominance. During the dry season, when stream levels drop and pools are reduced to fragmented mirrors between stones, the Philippine water dragon roams the banks in search of insects and small crustaceans. But this constant search also keeps him alert to potential threats. When he feels threatened, he avoids direct confrontation and prefers a sure escape. Its long, muscular hind legs allow it to leap swiftly into the water, where it disappears beneath the surface in seconds, swimming skillfully and holding its breath for minutes until the danger is over. It's not always larger predators lurking. Medium-sized birds of prey, mongooses, and pythons pose constant threats to smaller animals, and a simple carelessness can lead to their becoming prey. Higher up, among the tall branches where the broad leaves form tunnels of shade and moisture, lives one of the smallest and strangest birds of these islands, the Philippine pygmy kingfisher. Barely larger than a closed fist, this tiny kingfisher defies the visual logic of its surroundings. Its feathers combine bright orange, violet hues and a metallic sheen that seems impossible to conceal. However, in the chiaroscuro of the jungle, these vibrant colors mix with the flashes of light that filter through the moving leaves, confusing their silhouettes with reflections and sparkles. Like the dragon, its coloring is part of a code. During mating season, the male displays his plumage with short flights and sudden flashes, competing for the attention of the females. But it's not all showmanship. This small bird hunts silently, perched on low branches near streams and puddles, swooping down on insects, small reptiles and tadpoles. Their technique is patient and precise. A single, well-aimed blow with their beak is enough to secure their prey. However, its small size makes it a target for tree snakes and larger birds, so it must be alert to both water and foliage overhead. Both creatures, distinct in shape and scale, share a common legacy. Adapting to an environment where light filters in reluctantly, heat crushes, and rain strikes without warning. In this scenario, color becomes a tool, language, and defense. It's not just an ornament, it's a living strategy woven in scales and feathers that has allowed them to survive in a corner of the world where everything is movement, stealth, and threat. In the heart of the Philippine Archipelago, cities like Davao stretch out in the shadow of seemingly eternal mountains and jungles. Here, nature is not far away, but so close that it seeps into daily routine. Amidst the tropical wilderness and the neighborhoods, animals like the Philippine civet stealthily roam the gardens and markets at dusk, representing nothing more than a faint murmur of wildlife that accompanies humans. Its presence is subtle, almost a natural companion, part of the very fabric of the place. Not far away, small but determined Philippine mongooses patrol among the crops and trees, hunting insects and small prey. These animals, adapted to coexist without conflict, reflect the history of an ecosystem that has learned to share space without shedding human blood. In inland villages, it only takes dogs barking persistently toward a patch of bushes or birds silently taking flight for residents to notice the presence of something else. They are signs that do not require words, but not everything in this relationship is calm. In the densest corners of the jungle, the reticulated python advances with the silent patience of a predator that dominates its territory. Their attacks, although sporadic, are a constant warning for rural communities. Each year, a handful of tragic cases remind villagers that, while there may not be large beasts roaming the region, the Philippines still has its share of relentless hunters. At the same time, wild pigs, common on the hillsides, can become aggressive, especially when they feel cornered or threatened, generating another type of conflict. In this landscape of contrasts, human and animal life intertwine in profound and complex ways. There is no distance, no insurmountable walls, only a fragile balance sustained by adaptation, cunning, and the ability to read the environment, where nature is ever present in Filipino life. In the dense nights of the Philippine jungles, when the heat seems to dissolve beneath the heavy humidity and the wind barely touches the high treetops, creatures emerge that defy logic. Animals that don't run, don't fight, don't hide, they simply disappear. Among them, the Philippine colugo has turned gravity into its ally and the void into its natural refuge. At first glance, its appearance is disconcerting. An elongated body covered in greyish, mottled fur with large eyes adapted to the shadows. But the most striking feature is its skin membrane that extends from the neck to the limbs and from the hind legs to the tip of the tail. A living layer that, when unfolded, allows it to glide distances of up to 60 meters between trees without ever touching the ground. Unlike other mammals of its size that rely on speed or camouflage, this animal chose another resource: height and air. Evolution, after millions of years of selective pressure in a closed, humid environment saturated with predators, gave it the ability to hover above danger. And it's no small feat. At those heights, where branches intertwine to form natural bridges and shadows move to the rhythm of the breeze, being able to leave a branch and leap into the void, knowing that you can control your descent, is equivalent to having an almost foolproof escape route. The Philippine colugo can't fly yet, but its glide is impeccable. It spreads its legs, extending the membrane like a biological kite. It controls direction by gently tensing the muscles in its limbs and shifting its weight with minimal body movements. He does it without any surprises, without any visible effort, as if gravity itself conspired in his favor. Its diet is discreet and constant. It feeds on growing leaves, developing shoots, flowers, and occasionally sap. It prefers higher elevations where competition is lower and ground predators cannot reach it. There, at those heights, his life unfolds against a backdrop of dampness and shadow. Most of their activity occurs at night, when the trees are shrouded in mist and the sounds of the jungle become denser. In this same environment, covered by darkness and silence, another of the essential moments of its cycle occurs. During the mating season, the Philippine colugo adopts a more reserved behavior. Males and females locate each other through soft vocalizations and scent markings on high branches. The encounters are brief, discreet, almost invisible to those who don't know where to look. Shortly after, the female gives birth to a single offspring, which remains attached to her belly for the first few months, wrapped in the same membrane that allows her to glide. That same darkness that protects newborns also hides dangers. Every night, a silent scene repeats itself. On a wide branch, a Philippine colugo nibbles at the leaves of a young tree. Several meters below, moving with measured slowness, a reticulated python ascends among the vines. The snake knows this terrain. Its heat sense perceives the slight vibration of the prey. But the colugo never lets its guard down. Its instincts have been honed by generations. When the snake closes the distance and the threat is imminent, the animal doesn't flee, it doesn't descend, it simply lunges. In an instant, its body detaches itself from the branch, deploying the membrane like a natural parachute. The python remains suspended among the vines, motionless, while the Philippine colugo lands precisely on another branch, dozens of meters away. In this environment where predators lurk around every corner and the jungle offers no second chances, survival does not belong to the strongest or the fastest. It belongs only to those who know how to use nature to their advantage, even defying its own laws. The Philippine colugo proves that evolution doesn't reward strength, but rather the ability to move between branches without ever touching the ground. Like so many other creatures on these islands, their survival depends on becoming invisible to hunters, and among those who have perfected this art of disappearing, one tiny, almost invisible creature stands out. In the dense rainforests of Mindanao, under the constant shade of ancient trees and among the ground covered with fallen leaves, lives a small guardian of secrets and rarities, the Mindanao horned frog. Its compact, squat body seems almost an extension of the leaf litter, but what is most striking are its distinctive horns above its eyes, bony protrusions covered in skin that are not simply an ornament, but a specific evolution to better camouflage itself. These horns break the silhouette of the amphibian, simulating small twigs or thorns, confusing the predator and making its presence almost invisible among the branches and dry leaves. The Mindanao horned frog is a master of stealth. It often emerges after rain, when the ground becomes muddy and temporary pools emerge, ideal for breeding. It feeds on insects, spiders, and small invertebrates. Its movements are slow and calculated, remaining motionless and patient until its prey comes close enough to be captured. Unlike many frogs that jump quickly to catch their food, this species prefers to use surprise and patience, behaviors adapted to an environment where silence can be the difference between life and death. That same patience is reflected in their courtship, where every gesture and sound has a measured and calculated purpose. The male emits a deep rhythmic call, a deep call that resonates on humid nights, seeking to attract the female amidst the constant murmur of the jungle. The sound, lower and slower than that of other frogs, is designed to travel through dense vegetation and is accompanied by subtle body movements that reinforce the signal. In this oral and visual dance, patience and perseverance are vital, and success depends as much on vocal strength as on the precise moment in which one chooses to sing. But this unique way of communicating is only part of a much broader adaptation, linking the Mindanao horned frog to a habitat that follows the rhythm of monsoon rains and ephemeral seasons. What distinguishes the Mindanao horned frog from other frogs in the world lies both in its anatomy and call, and in its close relationship with a habitat that moves with the rhythm of monsoon rains and ephemeral seasons. Their life cycle is synchronized with the rhythm of water and vegetation, making their reproduction possible only during those brief moments when the forest is filled with temporary pools. Its existence depends on the precision with which nature marks those ephemeral moments where life emerges and transforms. Amidst this fragility, the Mindanao horned frog is a silent testament to the delicate harmony that sustains the forest. A balance that, although vulnerable, persists thanks to the perseverance of those who know its timing and rhythms, and the patience embedded in every movement of this tiny guardian of the jungle. Among the turbid, slow-moving waters of rivers and mangroves, where the reflection of the canopy merges with the mud, a solitary figure glides slowly and stealthily. Bearer of an ancient lineage, the Philippine crocodile carries on its scales the history of giants who once dominated these territories. Its size does not exceed 1.5 meters, and its body barely reaches 14 kilos, a small shadow of its gigantic ancestors who millions of years ago dominated rivers and lagoons, imposing beings who imposed their law without rival. But the passage of time, combined with an increasingly hostile environment, has shaped their destiny in the form of extreme adaptation. The Philippine crocodile has had to shrink, transforming into a small predator, forced to hunt insects, crustaceans, and even snails, tiny prey for a predator whose lineage had been marked by ferocity. This small colossus faces a brutal paradox every day, the imperative need to survive in a world that seems to conspire against him. Its once vast and free environment is now fragmented, invaded by human presence, pollution, and habitat loss. Caught between survival and extinction, he ventures near inhabited shores, where danger lurks both in the water and in the watchful eyes of man. The figure is alarming. Only between 92 and 137 adults remain at liberty. Every individual counts, every move matters, and the fate of the species is at stake in a territory where every risk is final. Despite its small size, the Philippine crocodile retains the patience and strategy that have allowed it to survive for millennia. At nightfall, when the jungle and the water merge in an expectant silence, it emerges to search for food. Its rough skin, mottled with shadows that blend in with the mud, gives it perfect camouflage as it moves forward slowly, noiselessly, scrutinizing with its eyes that look like windows to an ancient world. The reptile knows that every movement could be its last, but the vital impulse is stronger than fear. Beneath the murky surface, it slides its body slowly, approaching a colony of apple snails clinging to the submerged leaves. With a subtle movement, it opens its jaws and captures several prey items, a modest but essential food. This act, repeated night after night, represents a triumph of adaptation, silent proof that even in the most hostile margins, life persists. This crocodile isn't just a survivor, it's a living symbol of the constant struggle between nature and the pressures of the modern world. Their existence reflects the harsh reality that, to move forward, you sometimes have to take deadly risks, do what goes against your very nature, and still stand firm, clinging to life in an unforgiving environment. In the dark silence of the mangroves, this tiny creature carries with it the heritage of giants, the resilience of a lineage that refuses to disappear, and the inevitable price of adapting to an uncertain future. Thus, the story of the Philippine crocodile becomes a powerful prelude, a perfect introduction to what is to come, a tale of survival, of risk, and of the relentless dance between life and death in the Philippines. Storms begin to stun the forests. Clouds thicken over the vast Philippine canopy, slowly darkening the sky until daylight becomes dull and cold. The air becomes thick with moisture, and a strange, absolute silence spreads between the trees. It's the instant before the explosion, like the tense calm before a roar that everyone in the forest recognizes and fears equally. From high above, the Philippine primates watch anxiously. Their dense fur, adapted to the constant humidity, repels the first drops that begin to fall. The Mindoro gibbon sports a coat so waterproof that drops simply slide off, allowing it to stay warm and mobile even in the heaviest rain. She clings tightly to the branches, swinging cautiously, seeking refuge in the thickest leaves, while her cries are drowned out by the rumble of the sky. Not far away, endemic birds are building their nests, constructed from water-repellent fibers and covered with waterproof leaves. The Philippine kingfisher protects its chicks with its wings, and the sharp beak on its long tail is used to clean and protect the inside of the nest, ensuring that the offspring survive the difficult times without succumbing. On the ground and among fallen logs, small rodents take refuge in deep, narrow burrows designed to drain water and prevent flooding. The small, swift Philippine tree mouse disappears under roots and cavities, while the carnivorous shrew adjusts its activity to emerge during the brief, rainless intervals when hunting becomes possible. The forest itself becomes a liquid landscape. Intense and persistent monsoon rains can last for several days, sometimes even a week, turning trails into temporary rivers and flooding low-lying areas. However, thanks to the structure of the soil and the density of the undergrowth, a good part of the water filters into the subsoil, feeding springs and maintaining the vital balance of the ecosystem. For some animals, rain is a time of abundance and opportunity. Amphibians, which depend on water to reproduce, find these days the ideal setting to continue their life cycle. The Philippine horned frog lays its eggs in temporary puddles, while venomous snakes take advantage of the moisture to hide under fallen leaves, waiting for prey that becomes more vulnerable in this changing environment. Large, stealthy predators like the clouded leopard see this wetness as a double-edged sword. The thickets increase, the terrain becomes slippery, and mobility is hampered, but the constant layer of rain also covers their movements, facilitating silent hunting. They are the ones who gain the most advantage, capable of adapting to the conditions and turning the storm into a great ally. At the other extreme, smaller and more delicate species suffer from the loss of food and shelter. Insects and small mammals, swept away by the current, must restart their life cycle once the rain stops. When the storm finally recedes, the forest seems to breathe again. The light returns, filtering through the remaining drops, and life restarts. Mud covers the leaves and branches as animals slowly emerge from their hiding places. For many, a new stage of searching and recovery begins. For others, the rain has marked a boundary, a before and after that redefines their struggle for survival. Thus, rain in the Philippines is not just a climatic phenomenon. It's a force that shapes the destiny of every creature, a constant test that only those best adapted can overcome without losing their way. While the rainforest recovers from the storm, beneath the surface of the warm waters surrounding the islands, the balance continues, guided by other laws. In this terrain, where mangroves spread like submerged roots and reefs fragment into coral labyrinths, survival depends not on speed or brute strength, but on patience. Among those corridors of sand and rock swims a predator that contradicts almost everything expected of its species. The Philippine nurse shark moves slowly, moving its long, muscular body as if there is no urgency. While other sharks roam the open ocean in search of fast-moving prey, this animal chose a different path to dominate the depths, the hollows, the dark cavities where small, elusive life takes refuge. Its anatomy is the exact response to that closed world. Its wide, downward-facing mouth acts like a powerful suction cup, sucking up prey hidden beneath the sand or attached to coral. Sleeping fish, distracted crabs, mollusks barely peeking out of their shells, all are vulnerable to this no-chase method. Their hunting strategies are discreet, almost invisible. It approaches the target without stirring up sediment or disturbing the water, guided by sensory barbels that allow it to detect the slightest movement beneath the sand. A simple push, and the prey disappears into a mouth cavity designed to generate a vacuum in a fraction of a second. In those moments, the calm is broken only for life to change hands. The most remarkable thing about this predator is not its attack, but its consistency. He can spend hours exploring the crevices of the seabed, spotting opportunities where others miss them. He doesn't need to swim fast. In an environment of fragmented reefs and shallow waters, speed is a liability, not an advantage. The nurse shark survives because it has adapted to the hidden rules of its ecosystem. At night, when the reefs darken and prey lower their guard, this shark is at its most effective. It glides among submerged mangrove trunks, dead coral remains, and sandy depressions, absorbing everything its size and jaws allow. It is in these hours that its harmless appearance reveals its true nature, a methodical, patient force that makes repetition its most effective tool. Far from the violently pursuing sharks, the Philippine nurse shark embodies a different kind of predator. He dominates not through immediate fear, but through absolute control of the margins. He's the master of what others don't see, and in an ecosystem where hiding places outnumber open paths, that's a definite advantage. Their existence is proof that in the Philippines, even below the surface, survival depends less on strength than on understanding one's environment. And no one, in these labyrinths of murky water and broken coral, understands it better than he does. But on reefs, life doesn't revolve around the most feared predators, but rather around fragile balances that are broken and restored without warning. Within this subtle network lives another creature whose name does not evoke threat, but whose presence is vital to the stability of these waters. The Philippine angelfish moves around the reefs in a constant motion. It hunts not out of fierce hunger, but out of purpose. Its oval body, covered in colors that reflect the filtered light, moves among corals and anemones like an unnoticed guardian. It doesn't chase prey, it patrols. In one corner of the reef, a sponge colony has grown excessively. As it expands, it is beginning to cover the living corals, blocking out light and hindering the passage of other species. Without intervention, this growth can smother entire reef fragments in a matter of days. The angelfish approaches. Its small, agile jaws remove pieces of sponge with precision. There's no rush. Bite after bite, he cleans away the excess, leaving space for the corals to breathe and the small crustaceans to regain their refuge. Meanwhile, small shrimp try to stay on the sidelines, aware that their own hiding place depends on this discreet act. But not all the reef inhabitants accept their presence. A small group of territorial and aggressive damselfish detect the intrusion and attack the angelfish. They hit, harass, and try to scare him away. However, the Filipino angel doesn't respond. He glides gracefully, dodging each blow, and returns again and again to the point of conflict. The behavior is repeated for several minutes. He doesn't act out of immediate hunger. Each movement has a specific function in the balance of his environment. He risks his space and safety because, in this discrete routine, he sustains part of the life around him. Task accomplished, the angelfish retreat. The damselfish return to their territory, the sponges are at bay, and the reef regains its rhythm. Everything returns to its course in an ancient cycle that needs no witnesses. So, while on the surface the storm has passed and on land the predators are recovering their rhythm, underwater, in the gloom of the coral, the battle for balance continues in the hands of creatures that few care to notice. On the delicate boundary between water and land, where the green of the jungle merges with the liquid surface of rivers and lagoons, lives a being that challenges the line between two worlds. The Philippine turtle, a creature that appears fragile at first glance, is actually a silent colossus, a territorial guardian that commands respect with every slow, confident movement. Its shell, a complex and resistant structure, is made up of bony plates covered by a hard layer of keratin, similar to our nails, which provides it with impenetrable armor against attacks and attacks. This armor is not only protective, but also a reflection of millions of years of evolution, a perfect design to withstand the attacks of both terrestrial and aquatic fauna that surround it. Inside, its organs are adapted for a dual life: lungs that allow it to breathe air when it surfaces, and an efficient circulatory system that sustains its slow but steady metabolism. Its compact, strong body moves with equal skill underwater and on land. In the water, its webbed feet propel it smoothly, while on land, its sturdy claws allow it to excavate nests and defend its territory. Although its pace may seem slow, it's not a creature that bows down to threats. Territorial and violent when the occasion demands, it doesn't hesitate to confront intruders, from small mammals to opportunistic birds that stray too close to its domain. Its varied diet reflects its versatility. It consumes aquatic plants, algae, insects, crustaceans, and small fish, adapting to what its environment offers with patience and efficiency. This dietary flexibility allows it to survive in an archipelago where resource availability changes with the seasons and tides. During the mating season, males exhibit territorial aggression, engaging in combat where the strength of their shells and physical strength are key to dominance and the ability to reproduce. Females, for their part, seek out sandy, sheltered areas on beaches or riverbanks to excavate their nests, laying dozens of eggs that they then cover with soil or vegetation to protect them from predators and human traffic. A common scene in the Philippines occurs when a turtle emerges from the water at dusk to excavate a nest. Under the watchful eye of a pair of curious monkeys, the turtle moves purposefully, ignoring their attempts to approach. Soon after, a small mammal that tried to enter its territory encounters an implacable barrier, a thumping shell and unwavering determination. As the turtle continues its life between the jungle and the water, facing challenges and protecting its legacy, the forest begins to awaken with sounds that herald the arrival of an even smaller but no less fascinating world. Insects of unimaginable shapes and unique strategies are about to take center stage, revealing secrets that only the Philippines can offer. High in the canopy, where branches intertwine and leaves filter light in irregular flashes, there exists a ruthless society. An organized, precise, and ruthless force. These are the Asian weaver ants, whose presence can be felt in every corner of the forest. In the jungles of the Philippines, no creature can ignore its dominion. At first glance, they appear insignificant, small, bright amber bodies moving in rows along stems and leaves. You only have to stop and look to understand that each one fulfills a function within an ironclad order, a hierarchical structure that acts as a single organism. Here, the ant does not survive on its own. It lives, hunts, and dies for its colony. At the center of this order is the queen, a single fertile female who, hidden within the colony, ensures the continuity of this tiny empire. She can lay up to 2,000 eggs per day. Her sole task is to reproduce. She doesn't go out, she doesn't hunt, she doesn't defend, but everything revolves around her because without her existence, the colony collapses. Around them, the workers form the backbone of this society. They patrol, hunt, defend, and build. But what's most extraordinary is their ability to act as a collective brain. When a patrol encounters a significant food source, such as a wounded insect, they don't feed immediately. They mark the area with specific pheromones and immediately return to the nest. What happens next is a demonstration of efficiency and order. A horde of workers mobilizes in a chain, following the chemical trail until they envelop the prey in a matter of minutes. The attack is highly coordinated. They grip the victim's legs with their powerful jaws, climb onto its body, and working like a ripple, dismember it into transportable fragments. The important thing is not who finds it or who consumes it first. In this society, if one wins, all win. But their skill isn't limited to hunting. Weaver ants are canopy engineers. They build their nests by joining living leaves together, bending them with their mandibles and legs to form a closed, sturdy structure. To seal the edges, they do not use their own secretions. They carry live larvae, which secrete silk threads with which the workers glue each leaf to the next. No other species in the Philippines or in the rest of the world has perfected a similar method. Their territorial defense is relentless. These nests can control vast expanses of treetops, and any creature that crosses their routes will be ruthlessly attacked. Dozens of workers attack her in unison, biting her, immobilizing her, and forcing her to abandon the territory. They have been documented confronting and driving off snakes and small mammals in acts of mass defense. The colony functions as an indivisible entity. When one sector suffers an attack or disturbance, chemical signals propagate within seconds, and the entire network responds. There's no delay, no confusion. It's a living machine, fine-tuned to the millimeter to maintain its control over the forest's heights. Because of their ability to regulate the populations of other insects, keep potential competitors at bay, and their role in the health of the trees they inhabit, weaver ants not only survive in the Philippines, they dominate. There is no insect, bird, or minor reptile that dares to ignore its presence. While predators act alone on land and underwater, here in the air, survival depends on organization and sacrifice for the common good. A society without compromise, where biological efficiency has been taken to limits that are still not understood. While the colony maintains its control over the treetops, something else stirs among the lower branches and damp ground. Even more unusual and unknown creatures are preparing to claim their share in this scene overflowing with life. If ants rule by number and organization, heaven belongs to a solitary, swift, and meticulous killer, the giant hunting wasp. Sometimes exceeding 5 centimeters in length, this wasp does not depend on swarms or colonies. She hunts alone, driven by an instinct that has made her species one of the most lethal on her scale. Their flight is straight, determined, and each movement is designed to locate a victim, neutralize it, and perpetuate their lineage in the most brutal way that nature allows. Unlike other insects that paralyze their prey to devour it or transport it to the nest, this wasp has a more sinister purpose. When it detects an unsuspecting caterpillar, it swoops down, clings to its body, and stings. But their goal isn't to kill her. The wasp's venom doesn't kill her, it paralyzes her. The victim remains alive, conscious, trapped in its own body. Once immobilized, the wasp seeks a hiding place, a hole in the ground, a crack in the bark, or a rolled-up leaf. There it lays an egg on the paralyzed body of its prey. For several days, the larva remains hidden, feeding slowly. It first consumes soft tissue, avoiding vital organs to keep the host alive as long as possible. Only when food is exhausted and there is nothing useful left to devour does the larva finish off its host and complete its metamorphosis. It may seem like an atrocity, but evolution rarely stops at morality. This method guarantees fresh, safe, and abundant food for offspring without depending on the luck of a daily hunt. It also prevents scavengers or parasites from stealing the prey. It's a perfect plan, executed over millions of years, that turns each generation of hunting wasps into increasingly specialized predators. Their routine is methodical. During the hottest hours of the day, they patrol open areas of the jungle and sunny clearings where it's easier to spot prey. They don't waste energy attacking without certainty. Every bite involves risk. The prey could escape or, in the case of certain spiders and cicadas, counterattack. That's why they choose carefully, execute quickly, and disappear before their maneuver attracts competitors. In this ecosystem, where everything is conditioned by efficiency and permanence, methods like this are not the exception, they are the rule. The evolution of the hunting wasp perfected this strategy because it ensures constant and secure food for the next generation without the need to store or defend reserves. Here, even the smallest creatures have learned that brutality is a legitimate tool for survival. In the humid areas of the Philippines, where the forest opens into brief clearings and roots sink into stagnant waters, death does not always have claws and fangs. Sometimes it takes the form of a tiny creature, just a few inches tall, dressed in the impossible colors of a warning. The poison dart frog. At first glance, its appearance seems almost ornamental. Electric shades of blue, yellow, and orange run through its skin like an urgent signal, a silent warning to anyone who dares to ignore it. But this isn't just an aesthetic device, it's a statement of intent. Their skin exudes one of the most potent toxins in the animal kingdom, a substance capable of paralyzing insects, arachnids, and small vertebrates in a matter of seconds. An absolute defense that has made this tiny amphibian untouchable, and very few creatures in the jungle can afford this luxury. In a brutal environment like the Philippines, where every life form must gain an advantage or disappear, this frog found its ultimate resource. Vulnerable due to its size, all too visible due to its colors, it cannot hide or rely on speed. Evolution, then, took another path. It turned its skin into a weapon and its body into a message. The toxin it secretes doesn't originate in its body. It comes from certain poisonous insects and arachnids it consumes, processing their chemical compounds into a lethal defense. A mechanism refined over generations, allowing it to be untouchable even by seasoned predators. Only a few, such as certain tree snakes, have developed partial resistance to its venom, but for the rest, even a slight exposure to its skin is enough to cause paralysis, nervous collapse, and, in many cases, death. The poison contained in a single frog can kill several dozen small mammals and, with prolonged contact, cause convulsions and heart failure in much larger organisms. It is, in essence, a miniature nuclear weapon. This frog doesn't attack like other hunters. Its method is absolute stealth. It moves through the soaked leaves, detects its prey, an unsuspecting beetle, and in a single, precise movement pounces and engulfs it. The venom then takes effect, ensuring that any attempt at resistance dissolves in a matter of seconds. The jungle seems to know this. Predators avoid their routes. Insects change direction upon sensing their scent, and even birds shy away from perching where these frogs gather after the rains. Because here, in this hostile environment, survival doesn't always depend on strength or speed. Sometimes it's enough to be lethal in silence. As the evening humidity begins to close in on the jungle, high above, another hunter sharpens his flight. One that doesn't need toxins or ambushes. A predator that rules from the air. In the Philippines, when the skies clear after the rains and thermal currents rise from the soaked earth, there is no creature more feared than the Philippine hawk. From high above, where only a few dare to fly, this bird surveys its domain with the coldness of a predator who has perfected its craft to a cruel art. Their eyes, direct heirs of the dinosaurs that once ruled the planet, perceive the slightest movements among the vegetation. They are able to detect the slight tremor of a leaf stirred by prey or the fleeting flash of scales in a distant stream. Every detail counts, because for this creature the suffering of others is not a mistake, it's a tactic. Its anatomy reflects this principle. Its dense, compact plumage allows it to maneuver among the treetops without losing speed. The paws, armed with claws that are proportionally stronger than those of any land feline, can precisely pierce the organs of its prey or immobilize them without needing to kill them immediately. Because the Philippine hawk rarely grants a quick kill, even in their own nest, violence is the law. From each clutch, only 1 or 2 chicks survive. Not because adults intervene. It is the strongest who push their weaker brothers into the void, knowing instinctively that there will not be enough food for everyone. Only the ruthless deserve the privilege of learning to kill. Their diet includes everything from lizards and small mammals to the young of other birds and unsuspecting bats. But it's in hunting larger prey that this predator reveals its relentless nature. It doesn't just capture and consume. The sparrowhawk enjoys prolonged control, terrorizing its victim before finally finishing it off. It breaks wings, mutilates legs, and keeps them alive long enough to ensure that there is no escape or rescue possible. That brutality takes shape deep in Mindoro. A young macaque descends to the bank of a stream to look for fruit. The calm is apparent, but in the dense silence of the jungle, every predator knows when its time has come. From the highest canopy, the Philippine hawk watches. It doesn't rush. It waits for the monkey to move away from the protection of the foliage, and then, without warning, it falls like a compact, deadly shadow. The claws pierce the macaque's back before it can turn its head. It doesn't kill it. It drags it several meters along the ground, kicking up a cloud of leaves and mud until it is immobile but conscious. From there, the hawk begins to dismember. First the limbs, then the neck, and finally the exposed organs with a calmness that seems unnatural. There's no rush. The death of the macaque isn't the goal. It's the act itself, the violent assertion of its supremacy in a territory where everything that breathes is condemned to look up. This is how this bird hunts. This is how it has survived the centuries, while entire species disappeared. He doesn't do it out of excessive force. He understands something few mammals have. In this environment, he who destroys the most survives. In the Philippines, not even the sky offers solace. Here, everything that breathes, sooner or later, pays a price. From tangled jungles to submerged reefs, the Philippines is not just an archipelago. It's a landscape fragmented by time and geography, where life adapts to the impossible and survives on the margins. In this vast ecosystem, every creature, from the secretive clouded leopard to the hunting wasp that sows its lineage on other people's bodies, finds its place in a balance that never remains static. The stifling heat, the endless rains, and the abrupt silence before the storm have shaped improbable anatomies and behaviors that can only be explained in an environment that grants no advantages to anyone. Brutality isn't a choice, it's a method. This is how this place works. This is how this cycle is sustained, but it is not a closure, because with every falling leaf, with every crack under the water, another story begins. And on the islands that fragment this ancient world, there always remains something that has not yet been seen. Nature doesn't grant endings, it only offers continuations, and it's the world that decides when to stop looking.